I just want to know what they are talking about in here, you know. I heard several times these type of abilities are required to keep certain decks in check. So my questions are, if these cards are balanced to keep top tier decks in check, doesn't that make all other decks far worse? Decks that people call fun become impossible to play. This is a good question. Why is it wrong to play a lot of cards last turn? Lich Sandman. Aren't location keeping decks in check already? Is it healthy to have one card make you lose and retreat a game early? This is true, brother. This is true. The cards checking various strategies are all intended to be viable but not dominant in their slot or even good everywhere. And that is the problem in Marvel Snap, Glenn, that they are good practically everywhere. What I am trying to say is that tech cards in Marvel Snap are too good. We are looking at Cosmo. We are looking at Killmonger. We are looking at Armor. We are looking at Shang-Chi, brother. Shang-Chi is a big offender in this. So these cards are just too powerful. Tech cards in other card games are useful cards to keep in check these strategies, but they are not usually not the best cards. In Marvel Snap, these are the best cards, and that is why you have had some meta games where you put all these cards in a deck and that is the best deck. That is fucking stupid, brother. Building a deck of exclusively checks won't be strong enough to compete, for example, but it was, Glenn, it was a while ago, and the only reason it isn't right now is because Shuri being bullshit. And even then, if you want to compete with Shuri, you have to have Shang-Chi in your deck, for example. It's not wrong to play a lot of cards on the last turn, but if everyone is doing it, that's too much. Part of the core fun of a Snap is interpreting and reacting to enemy plays that are visible. We also want to ensure decks that commit early are viable, because that's more diversity in our gameplay. Then you shouldn't have built a deck which core designs revolves around surprising your opponent because of the snag mechanic. Again, boys, because the snag mechanic is what makes people to want to surprise the opponent so they don't retreat. So you are incentivized to make 6-turn strategies. If the snap mechanic didn't exist, you can have tempo strategies, early game, aggro strategies, whatever, I don't fucking know. But the snap mechanic incentivizes people to play on the 6th turn and reveal their stuff where the opponent can't react to it. So if you want that, you are in the wrong game. So you are incentivized to play it on the last turn. Locations provide a lot of variance and replayability, and they do help ensure no one strategy can be repeated with perfect success. Wrong. Shuri and Thanos are repeated with perfect success. But the answer to the best deck can be, I hope the locations horrid, because it feels arbitrary and also lacks the fun of modifying your deck to attack different matchups. That part is true, and I agree completely with that part. If there's a diverse range of viable decks, it's fine, even good for some of them to almost always retreat to certain cards. That is true too. In other card games, you have this thing where your deck is good to a certain group of decks, but it's bad against certain group of decks. The way Galactus fears Debris or Seraph fears Sandman. If the card makes everyone retreat, that's not healthy. That last part I completely agree with. My own tinfoil hat theory is that the decks do not play on the Marvel Snap ladder at all. If you play on the ladder, you will see all these problems yourself after 5 games. I agree completely, but then what if they don't see them as problem? We had an answer some time ago that I covered in one of my videos where they say that they do play the game, but when they go into the development, they separate the player from the developer. So in their work, they don't think as a player, they think as a developer. They said it. I didn't say it. They said it. So there you go. They play other games because they know their own game sucks. Brother, if we are bored, they have to be bored. They have to know all this shit I am talking about is bad right now. I am convinced they play their min-tier decks and cards against each other, and who is Sandman leashing their friends. Maybe that's what happened. They just play battle mode between them and play with fun decks. Because let me tell you, do you really think they have a good player in the team? Maybe they have one, and other 20 dudes are just rank 20 enjoyers, you know. Will playing Hawk on turn 5 disable ongoing effects for the end of the game? For example, if you're playing Cerebro 2 or 3 and you play cards into negative zone and they play Hawk on turn 5, will cards still be affected by the debuff and miss out on the Cerebro buff? Hawk mentions that location effects are disabled next turn, but then is the end of the game considered part of turn 6, or will the location react to finish up the game? They are referring here to the Hawk that is provided by the new card, Snowguard. That, by the way, I tweeted this and I shared it in a post in YouTube too. I didn't even know that we were getting a new card because I didn't care, because nobody cares. Who the fuck cares about the Snowguard, motherfucker? Are you going to pay 6K for that shit? No, you are saving your tokens for High Evolutionary, aren't you? Am I a mind reader? I am not a mind reader. I just know that is what you do because all these fucking cards suck dick and you don't have a lot of tokens, so you have to save up your tokens, don't you? So nobody gives a fuck about the Snowguard. Nobody gives a fuck about the Stegron. Nobody gives a fuck about any of that shit. So I didn't even know what card was going to get released. And did it affect me? Not at all. I haven't found the card yet in a game. It hasn't been played against me. I didn't care. Nothing happened. Life continues the same. No, the location will resume being active during calculation at the end of the game. Yes, exactly, because the end of the game is an extra step. It is not the same thing. I understand this, and this is kind of obvious, right? It is intuitive. It is intuitive. Hi, Roll9, my dude. How you doing, brother? How you doing, bro? On a number of occasions, you have justified cards like Leech, citing... Brother, people hate the Leech. A lot of the question this dude gets are about the Leech, brother. This dude must be tired of people talking about the fucking Leech. At this point, this dude is just going to delete Leech just so people stop asking him about Leech, dude. Because at this point, it has to be fucking annoying. A card like Leech citing a desire to prevent big final turns. By design, each round provides more energy than the last, and the higher cost cards often have the most powerful abilities. Having a game won by turn 5 is and should be rare because it would diminish the snag mechanic, what I said just before. So by its very nature, is your game not essentially based on explosive final turns? What I just said! So we the players understand this. How the fuck don't they understand it? Well, let's see what he responds first. Why would you try to prevent that? Exactly, brother. What I just said, I am not the only one that thinks this way. There's a big difference between turn 6 being the most important turn, fun, and turn 6 being the only important turn, not fun. But it is. It is. The game is exactly like that. It has always been like that. Seeing what your opponent is doing and deducing which locations they're fighting for or trying to trick you into fighting for is one of the most enjoyable parts of a snap. Yes, it is, but at the same time, the same snap mechanic prevents you from doing that a lot of the times, because if you can't fight for those locations, you just retreat. And then you don't have the turn 6. Which you are saying is the most important turn and you are saying is fun. So you are incentivizing me to retreat on the 4th turn if I am not going to win this shit. So I am not having fun. But again, that is my grudge with the snag mechanic, and that isn't going to go anywhere because the whole game revolves around that. But then, if you have the snag mechanic, you have to understand the question that this dude is telling you in here. The turn 6 is the most important turn, and you have to make it fun, not prevent us from having fun with this Leech shit. We love decks that explode on turn 6 existing, but we also want to ensure there are plenty of equally strong decks that don't. No, bro, every good deck is like this, by the way. Think about it. What are the best fucking decks in the game every fucking time? Sabu decks that exploded on the last turn. Zera decks that exploded on the last turn. In one time, believe it or not, in the beta game, Mr. Negative was the best deck, and it exploded on the last turn. Shuri explodes on the 5th and 6th turn, but sometimes it explodes only on the 6th turn with the She-Hulk Taskmaster combo. Marvel Snaps, best decks explode on the 6th turn, and that is how the game fucking works. We have a 2 energy 2 power card that gives information on a critical turn to guarantee your play is most effective, and he's talking about Daredevil in here, of course. Why is this costed like Tech Card Armor at 2 rather than say Cosmo at 3 or Storm at 3? Storm denies a lane at the cost of losing ramp on turn 3. The general point being Daredevil gives critical information at no real cost. How do you come to this decision from a design perspective? Do you guys think Daredevil is a problem? I really don't see Daredevil as a problem, bro. I believe he's a cool card. I like Daredevil. I don't think Daredevil is a problem. Let's see what Glenn says in here. Daredevil's cost is his inefficiency. He's below rate on curve and way below rate of curve. Daredevil could exist at a handful of costs with different power, but making him cheaper is a bit more interesting because playing him on curve creates tension and uncertainty around whether you should snap before revealing you have Daredevil. I wasn't here when Daredevil was released, so I can't speak to a specific of the design's intent, but he seems right and balanced at 2 costs. I agree with this answer, bro. I believe he's cool at 2 costs. If you ramp early, then the likes of Shang-Chi or Killmonger can take them out, which incentivizes explosive. Final tool plays. Daredevil is fine. Yes, Daredevil is cool. One thing that I think feels really bad about the game is when you make your play, lock it in, and then your opponent snaps, and you have to completely reevaluate your position, but you have about 3-5 seconds to do it before the turn starts. Are you guys planning to add a feature that unlocks your play if your opponent snaps into you? This is another thing. Why isn't this part of the game already? This makes the game objectively better. And he answers, we considering things like this. It's not a minor change. Motherfucker, you are just considering it. This makes the game objectively better. There is no downside to this. Everybody will love this happening. Why are you considering it? Your answer should be, we are working on this. No EDA, by the way, but at least you are working on it. But you are just considering it. What is this shit? It is stupid because, again, the whole game revolves around the snap mechanic. Snapping is information. So when your opponent snaps, you have to reconsider what you are doing. Maybe something changes. Maybe you want to change your play, but you can't. And there are some motherfuckers, some pieces of shit that exploit this interaction and snap you at the very last moment of the turn, and you can do shit about it. How are you telling me that you are just considering it? And then you say it's not a minor change. Do you think the player fucking cares? We don't care. Fix it. It's your job. You are making $20 million a month. I am sure you can fix it. They still haven't added that feature. No, they haven't added that feature, brother. They're talking about making the reserves based on the day you gave them, and if they make that chance that this will definitely push more players away, knowing they can save more reserves at a time. By the way, they have been saying they are going to change that since the token shop release, like in November or December, and we are mid-April, and we don't have that shit yet. Motherfucker. When roping out the snapping in the last 5 seconds of the turn is optimal. It's stupid. It's just stupid as fuck. Deck team's ideal meta. This is a good question. I'm sure different decks vary on this based on some personal predilections. The guiding light I use to evaluate decisions is ensuring there's enough diversity among both the successful and popular decks. We specifically don't aim any general strategy to sit on top. If we can solve the metagame internally without live data, that's a sure sign it's not going to be dynamic enough to stay interesting for players. So we try to make lots of strong things and also 1 or 2 ways to exploit each thing. Thus cycling what's best at different things get targeted. That's the goal at least. I agree, but that is why you have to keep making changes constantly, because when players solve the meta, then you throw them a curveball, you shake things up, and then they have to do it again, and they have to do it again. So you keep changing the stuff, and that way you don't get a stale meta game. But we have had a stale meta game for 2 fucking months because you have made changes, but they have been stupid changes. So we only get 1 change a month, and when you do it, it is a stupid change. Of course, the meta game is stupid, motherfucker. It is obvious. You don't have to be a genius. And yes, they said last week that they are going to start balancing the game weekly. And that is good. That is great. I love that. Thank God for that. That is a good thing for the game. But then these changes that you do weekly have to be impactful, brother. They have to be refreshing. Because if they are stupid changes, nothing is going to happen. And yes, I am trying to talk quieter to not bust my voice. I actually thought the Surfer meta before he got nerfed was good. The deck did not even put out as much points as Shuri Red Skull. Brother, I enjoyed the Silver Surfer meta game. I enjoyed it. The Sabu meta game was less enjoyable, but the Silver Surfer was better. But the one we have now is not enjoyable at all. I would say the leader meta game was less enjoyable than this one, but the thing is that the leader meta game lasted for a few weeks. This has been for 2 months, and that is a problem. It is like, yes, it is better than the leader, but I am in this shit for 2 months. I am bored the fuck out, and it is not a healthy meta game in the first place at all. So that makes it worse, you know. That makes it worse. The leader was objectively worse, but in just like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. This has been for 2.5 months, something like that. The more money they leak the game like this, the more DC Dual Force will benefit, and I hope so. DC Dual Force has in their best interest to take a look at Marvel Snap, see the mistakes they are making, and not make it themselves. Because we don't know much about DC Dual Force, so I don't want to overhype myself and people. Like, Dual Force is going to solve this, because what if when we see what the game is like... Bye. Bendición. Te amo. My mom is going out, so she came to say bye for now, you know. She's going to do some stuff. So... What was I saying? DC Dual Force and the hype. I don't want to say that, oh, DC Dual Force is going to solve everything and it will be cool, because we don't know anything about the game yet, you know. Maybe they do some stupid shit that is going to fuck everything up. But I do hope that they make it right, you know. So it is in the team behind DC Dual Force best interest to take a look at the mistakes that Marvel Snap is making and not make it themselves. Seize the opportunity that Marvel Snap is burning out players, that they have a stupid collection system, and advertise that you aren't doing that. You know, I would be the most unethical advertiser if I worked for DC Dual Force. I would say, here we have a game where you can have a full collection. We aren't going to gatekeep you. You can have fun in our game. You can finish games in our games. I will exploit the shit out of that. And the best thing you can say, something Marvel could never do and would get you the most people possible. You just say, we have Batman, motherfucker. We have Batman. Do they have Batman? They don't have fucking Batman, dude. Even if the meta was healthy, I would still get bored because only 1 game mode, and that is true, bro. Conspiracy theory that Shuri will get nerfed as soon as she drops to Series 3. Brother, and you know what? I was one of the persons that didn't think like that. I'd say, no, brother, the balance team just balances things out based on the meta game, you know. Brother, but it is true. Shuri has been bulging since she was released into Series 5. And they didn't nerf it. They didn't nerf her. They didn't nerf her. She got to Series 4. They didn't nerf her. They didn't nerf her. Now we are 2 weeks away or 10 days away or something like that from her releasing to Series 3, and they have already announced that they are going to nerf her. Maybe it is just a fucking coincidence, but maybe it is the tinfoil hat, you know. These motherfuckers are tying balance to the economy. They have said that they aren't doing it, and I am going to take their word for it. But right now the evidence that we have, and let's be honest, it is a small sample size, so we can say for sure, points to the contrary. If Marvel Snap stays shy one, then we hopefully have this Isidore Force to fall back on. That is what I want to. That is exactly what I want to, brother. I want the DC to be good, because you know what happens. Maybe if this Dual Force is good, that shakes up Second Dinner's floor, and then they said we have to improve this shed. We have a competitor. We have to do something, and then they improve their shed. And then DC says we have to improve, and then Marvel says we have to improve, and then we have two cool games. That is the ideal scenario. I hope that happens, but it probably won't. Let's be honest. No FOMO bullshit, please, DC. They will probably have FOMO bullshit because that is the world we live in right now. But there is, how you say, levels of FOMO bullshit, you know. There is levels of FOMO bullshit. For example, I played a lot of Dora, and Dora has FOMO elements with sets, you know, like skins for your hero. So there are sets that you can only buy for 3 months, and if you don't buy the set in those 3 months, then you can never get it. I am fine with that FOMO, because it doesn't affect gameplay. Dora is a game that is completely fair in the gameplay, you know. You can buy anything that affects the gameplay. All the heroes are completely free. Not even League of Legends has this, because in League of Legends you have to buy the champions. In Dora the heroes are free. So that is a FOMO that I am fine with. You know, and yes, that increases their sales of the game, and then I can have the game for free and play the game fairly without spending any money. Let them have that type of FOMO. The FOMO that I don't want is the token choke FOMO. That is the FOMO that I don't want. That I have to check this bullshit every 8 fucking hours to see if the card that I want is in there. What is this stupid shit, motherfucker? What is this stupid shit? The other FOMO is a season pass card that is a little bit less than the token choke, but it is still one. You have to buy this card in this month for $10, because if you don't do it, this card is going to cost a lot more into Series 5, and you have to wait 6 fucking months to get it in Series 3. That is FOMO bullshit. None of that 8 hours bullshit rotation, exactly right there. FOMO is fine, but the way Marvel Snap does it is awful, so hopefully, exactly. 6 months to wait for a card to drop to Series 3 is beyond a joke. I agree completely, brother. And yes, they think the token system is a feature. No, motherfucker, this is not a feature. This is something you are giving us because the system is bullshit. So you are trying to close a gap with this check. But the gap was there already because of your stupid collection system, and that gap didn't have to be there on the first place. Why was Darkhawk released as 4-1 and then nerfed to 4-0? Wouldn't it make more sense to release him as 5-3, same as Dino and Ronan, which have basically the same design, card count in X? His potential seems to be similar to both of these cards. I was hired after Darkhawk's release, but let his balance, so I can really only speak to that element. These cards do count different things, and the cards and locations that increase those things also vary a bit. I agree with this. While similar, the 3 cards in question aren't strictly comparable. I agree with that too. As far for the specifics of the nerf, we debated which way to go on Darkhawk: +1 cost, -M power, or -1 power. The M power, I believe, is from the ability, you know, how much he gets from each thing that is in the opponent's deck. The tiebreakers for me were twofold. First, Dino is strong, and matching Dino makes them both less novel and their decks seem less novel. The second was that overlapping Darkhawk and Roxolite was a shell any of our potential Sabu nerfs would support. While Sabu was nerfed before Darkhawk, that was an OTA change, and Darkhawk was a patch change. So we actually finalized the latter a fair bit earlier. That is another shit. Because they have the technical limitations and they can only patch the game 1 time a month. Apparently they have to talk with Google and Apple and all this bullshit. They have to lock in patches weeks ahead. You know, in that time, shit hits the fan and they don't have a way to respond to it, because then they have to wait another month for another patch, you know. This is fucking stupid. This is fucking stupid, isn't it? No EDA snap. Yo, Siki, how you doing, my brother? How you do, bro? Yes, brother, no EDA on anything. No EDA on anything. No EDA snap or FOMO slang. No EDA fix them better. Because we know that FOMO is in there for forever and it isn't going away. And they don't use the word FOMO because they know it has a negative connotation. But they do say no EDA a fucking lot. I love some designer insight on why certain cards and locations have an explicit leftward or rightward focus with no opposite equivalent. This is most noticeable with movement. Iron Fist left, Heimdall left, Bifrost right. But it's present elsewhere too. Locations registered card bias leftward, Giganto and Sentry. Adjacent effects bias rightward, Kang and Leader. It makes me... Why Kang? What the fuck does Kang has to do with that? I don't know. It makes me curious why any of these directions are chosen and why opposite effects haven't been made. I suspect it has something to do with locations revealing left to right. Perhaps players tend to play more cards for their lefts as a result. That's mostly if the left locations revealing earlier makes them more common to play on. So having late cards care about the left locations being more open introduces interesting tension. For example, if Bifrost moved left, it will move less cards total on average based on common gameplay patterns. However, sometimes it's used what feels good. Leader went right because Heimdall already going left would overlap them. I wasn't there for Claw. Oh, Claw, no Kang. He said Kang, but it's Claw. But I presume he goes right in part because his claw is his right hand in canon. That is a good answer, and it would be cool if that is the reason. You know, giving a little bit of lore in there, you know, for the gameplay. Is Jeff able to move into Fisk Tower and Kingpin on turn 6 without being destroyed? Jeff can go wherever he likes, but that doesn't mean bad things can happen to him once he's there. I agree with this. It would be a stupid if he could move there and not die, brother. It would be a stupid. Why you decided to fix the MMR to avoid it from falling? I totally agree with the stopping people from losing on purpose, but allowing it to keep growing, leading to an always harder next season climb due to matching versus stronger and stronger players. Your MMR has to be able to grow because it's a measure of a skill and players tend to get better over time. We pair players based on their skill to create more even matches overall. I understand what he's saying, but he didn't answer the question. I have talked about this before. This doesn't matter really because the people that have your similar skill will also gain MMR, so it is balanced higher, you know. So what this makes is MMR inflation, but not necessarily makes it harder per se, you know. Why you decided to fix the this is the same, the one we just read. Is battle mode filling its intended purpose, or are you looking into reworking it? The core function of battle mode works great and enabled our first friendly matches and tournaments to exist. It was also the necessary first step toward conquest. Cool. Do you all jump on around the same time to test and play with the community around the same time? We do actually have a short weekly meeting to play the live game together at the same time, but most of us also play live regularly for fun. Brother! If you guys play the game, how the fuck don't you know all the bullshit the game has? Because all you need are 3 hours one afternoon to know that the game is bullshit. For fun, that is cap. Oh, that is a giant cap, brother. Oh, brother, the size of Jimmy Neutron's head, brother. After hearing you say you and the team play sometimes, what's your favorite deck to play? I don't really have a favorite personally. I play a ton on live and play test builds and always getting an hour or more with a version of every deck, seeing meaningful play each season. So you know that the balance in the game sucks. Even once that's done, I change it up every 5 ranks or so unless something's really clicking. I can name a few specific cards I particularly enjoy playing. Quinjet, Polaris, White Queen, and Death. And brother, let me tell you, I like these cards. So I respect these choices of cards. Can we expect the new game mode to be added in the next patch? From the roadmap, we're hoping to release Conquest in June. So yes, you have the whole April, then you have May, and then you release this shit in June. And they didn't say what time in June, so it can be like the 3rd week of June. Only 1 minute needed, brother, to know how bullshit the game is. The first game, you play 1 game and that's it. Are there talks of changing the variant shop? As of right now, most of the variants that roll through are either for cards that I don't use or cards that I already have a variant for. This has been asked a lot of fucking times, and this tells you that the variant shop is stupid, isn't it? So they are saying that they actively discuss how they are going to fix that shit, but no EDA, of course. That is what they always say. Will Leader ever get a rework so that he's playable again? Stay tuned. So they are going to fix the Leader. Please don't, brother. I am happy with the Leader being dead. Don't bring the Leader back, motherfucker. Let him be dead. Let him be gone. I don't want to see that piece of shit in any of my games, brother. Are there any plans to address the issue where an opponent plays a location changing card, a Storm or a Scarlet Witch onto Limbo on turn 6, removing turn 7? It seems unfair that Magic can be played on turn 6 to force an extra turn, yet opponents can remove the extra turn on turn 6. It is incredibly frustrating. Also thinking of Magic, are there plans to make her 4 cost? It happens far too often where she's unplayable due to, as an example, a location increases the cost of cards on turn 5. We know that location and we all hate that location. 3 Dimension, I believe it is called. Most cards can just about cope with this adjustment, but Magic is rendered completely useless. It's a key piece of Magic's tension and implementation that Limbo can be interacted with. It's possible that will buffer in other ways in the future. And I believe one way is this interaction. If you are playing Magic and Dream Dimension pops up, your Magic is useless. You can't play the card, and that is just stupid, brother. That is just stupid. Do the decks have any concerns about the play pattern of Galactus decks as players gain access to this card, or is there a concern about the play pattern if too many people start playing the card? Galactus decks shouldn't be one of our strongest or one of our most popular because the gameplay is polarizing, both emotionally and mechanically. If these decks do exceed our desired ranges, which are lower than our typical range for balanced action, we'll make some kind of adjustments. I believe Galactus and I am planning to play a Galactus deck today, boys. But I don't think Galactus is really strong right now, brother. I always know when people are going to play Galactus. I always fucking know. Yes, there are some times that I can't stop it from happening, but I always know. You know, I always know. It is so predictable. So that is the weakness of Galactus decks. Yes, the ability is really strong, but you are always know when they are going to play Galactus. You always know. Knowing that this new card shifts from Hawk to a Bear, what went into the design process to have it that way? Was it ever considered to start as random and then transform? I was skeptical about this card, but having a 1 cost that affects location is interesting. Snowguard, while novel, doesn't have an obvious home the way some cards do. Reducing the variability in the effect addresses that by making her easier to play with. Are there any requirements for a card to be permanently Series 5 other than the base prerequisite of being exciting? No. Yes, exactly. This is what I told you. They aren't introducing cards into Series 5 necessarily because lore reasons, but because of how crazy the card is. That is what makes me think that High Evolutionary has the potential of being a Series 5 forever, because the effect is really crazy. But I hope they don't do it. I hope they don't do this shit. They are taking too lightly this Series 5 forever bullshit, and people are biting it, bro. There are people saying, I hope High Evolutionary Series 5 forever, he deserves it. No, motherfucker. You want cards to be cheaper, not more expensive. Are you an idiot? If you tell them to make shit expensive, they are going to make shit expensive. Are you stupid? You are giving them stuff to make your life more miserable. Don't be an idiot, my dude. Just because, oh, it is a big bad, it is exciting, it is crazy. Series 5 forever. You are brain dead, motherfucker. You tried to revive the leader, brother. Don't act like you don't care. I didn't try to revive him. I tried to play a deck where I thought the leader might be viable, but he didn't do it. He was stupid. Did they say it is intended that the cubes double when Limbo is removed on 6? I don't think they said it, but it is kind of obvious because cubes always get double at the end of the game. And if you remove Limbo and the game ends at 6, it doubles the cubes because the game ended. Every time the game ends naturally, cubes get double. That is the thing. You think they should start downgrading Thanos, Galactus, and Khan as well? In my opinion, yes. In my opinion, no card should be Series 5 forever. But now that we have it, let it be that way. Let it be that way. Okay, let them have it, the Series 5. But don't start introducing a new Series 5 card forever every 2 months. Because then, in a year from now, you will have 10 motherfuckers of that. And that is stupid, you know. What you could do is introduce only into Series 5 the big bats and let it be Series 5 forever, but then every new card introduce it into Series 4. So yes, you have all these new cards we are getting into Series 4, and then you get High Evolutionary into Series 5. I am fine with that, but that isn't what they are doing. They feel bad buying any Series 5 card that is not perma Series 5, so they want him to be a big bad. Exactly, and that is a trick they are playing on our minds. So, I only buy a Series 5 card forever because it is the best way to spend my tokens. Because if I spend my tokens on another chat, then it is not optimal. Well, motherfucker, that is all is part of the psychology manipulation they are inflicting of you. Because the whole thing is stupid. The whole fucking check doesn't have a fucking meaning. It is all worthless and stupid, and they are tricking your mind into thinking that it is worth it to spend the 6k tokens on these dudes. It is another psychological warfare tactic, brother. At High Evo to pull 6 with $100 for a card. If there is no perma Series 5 cards, then it is truly a waste to spend 6k tokens on any card. Exactly. So they are creating all these things like having permanent Series 5 cards to create further psychological control, to make you think that it is worth it. But it isn't. Has this been considered at all, like releasing 4 cards at the beginning of the month? I think the hype will be way higher with a bigger injection. Brother, this dude gets me. This dude gets me. Right now, it's just like, oh, less than 10% of players got the new card. Guys will play in the same decks still. Again, I told you guys that I am going to make a video about the release of the release cadence of new cards. But I am just going to tell you this right now, so you agree with me. And why this release cadence of 1 card a week is stupid. What is the most, and remember that I played this game since August from last year, something like that, in the beta game, or June or whatever, I don't remember. The most exciting patch in Marvel Snap's history, and I have played every fucking season. Well, I have played since season 1, so there you go. The most exciting patch was the patch where they released Series 5 and Series 4. And I am not saying it because Series 5 and Series 4 is good, but because that patch got us like 15-20 cards at once. That was the patch Thanos and Galactus were released. You got Shuri in that patch, you got Valkyrie, you got Bass, you got Luke Cage, you got Super Skrull, you got all that thing in one patch. All those things in one patch, and that has been the most exciting patch in Marvel Snap history, because everybody was, oh, I can get this, I can get that, and all the bullshit. That was a great patch. Why? Because you gave us a bunch of cards on a single time, on one day. You have the data, you know that this is true. Make it happen, motherfucker, because that creates more hype than this bullshit. And it doesn't have anything to do with how much money you can make, because I am not saying here make them cheaper. I am just saying release more of them in one big batch, not sporadically. Yeah, longer waits for cards is fine as long as it's more cards at once released dynamically between Series 3, 4, and 4 and 5. Exactly. If they release in some in 5 and some in 4, it is better. More in 4, you know, and introduce a big batch of them every 2 months. Say it like that. Then it is better, you know. I think it would be really cool to let players pick 1 card from the 4-5 amount to have for that month. Then with the battle pass, that's a pretty big shake-up. We prefer ensuring there's constantly something new to look forward to in our release structure. So yes, they just said plain and bluntly that they aren't going to change this shit, and they believe that 1 card a week is good and it's enough. Oh, brother, your game is going to fucking die so fucking hard. Brother, it is not good. Too few cards, no hype behind cards, nobody cares. The game doesn't shake at all when new cards are released. It is stupid. Your best patch was when you released 20 fucking cards at the same time. Change it. It is a bullshit mentality. I know you believe it is cool to say we are the only card game that releases one card a week. We are so cool. It doesn't work. Is it intentional that playing a Snowguard in bear form into the raft when you have 4 cards there does not give another free 6-cost card? Example, you play a Snowguard as the last card to fill the raft, you receive the normal free card, then a Snowguard flips in bear form, nothing currently happened in this situation. This is intentional, the raft only rewards the first player to fill it and only once. That is cool to know, that is an interaction that I would like to know that happens, but I will never use it because am I going to buy a Snowguard? No. I will get a Snowguard in 6 months where it is Series 3. At that point, who cares? You know, who cares, brother? 1 card a week seems okay, though. It isn't, brother. It isn't. It isn't. Let me tell you, Siki, my brother, it isn't enough. It isn't enough. Let me tell you this, even if the card was free, it wouldn't be enough. It wouldn't be fucking enough. As I am saying, other card games release like 150 cards every 3 months, every 4 months. In 4 months, Snap is releasing 12 cards. No, 16 cards. Are you competing? You are not competing. This is not enough to shake off the meta game. And yes, I understand that Snap is a different game. You don't have spells, you don't have lands, you don't have equipment, artifacts or whatever, so you can release 150 cards. I understand completely, but you can release more than we are getting right now. And this is not counting the bullshit gatekeeping with the tokens. I am assuming you can get every single card. It is still stupid. It is still stupid. Yeah, 1 card a week in Series 5 that will eventually downgrade to Series 3 in 6 months, brother. It's bullshit. It is bullshit. In my opinion, it is not enough, even if the card were free. Was free or were free. I don't know how you say it. I think it will still be this bullshit because, for example, you get a Snowguard. A Snowguard was released yesterday or 2 days ago. I don't remember. You get a Snowguard. You don't give a fuck. No one cares about a Snowguard, even if it was free. Even if it was free, maybe you play for a couple of games to see how the card feels. You see that it's bullshit, you go back to your other deck. Nothing happened. Nothing was released. That is what I'm trying to say. The week that Shadow King was released, the week that Dazzler was released, the week that Shanna the She-Devil was released, nothing happens, nothing changes, everything continues the same. The cards did nothing. It didn't matter that you got 1 card a week. And when you see it on the biggest scope of things, you are getting 54 cards a year. Is this enough to keep? Because the year has 54 weeks, you are getting 1 card a week, so you are getting 54 cards a year. Are 54 cards a year enough to keep a card game alive? No, brother. There is no card game that does that, brother. Every other card game releases like 800 cards a year. I don't really know, but maybe like 500 cards a year, something like that. So it is not really comparable, brother. It is not really comparable, dude. They say they're thinking of adding spells and stuff. That will help them release more cards, you know. Longer waits for more cards that create a brand new deck archetype will be exciting. Like, people are excited about High Evolutionary because that is the one that will affect the meta game, you know. So you get 1 every 3 months. What was the last one? Sabu, I don't know. MODOK, maybe. Kang the Conqueror, and it didn't affect the meta game that much, but people were excited about that one. But imagine a Snowguard interactions with the new location 6 months in the future. But no one, they want 1 card a week featuring the likes of the Great M'Baku, Shanna, and Sentry. Exactly. The week that Sentry released, do you give a fuck? You don't. Nothing happens. The game continues the same. So yes, this is fucking stupid, brother.